Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on Midday Kentucky. This morning, I had the chance to interview former Arkansas governor and presidential candidate Mike Huckabee about his upcoming show, Huckabee, starting this weekend. Take a look. Thank you so much for joining us to talk to our viewers here in Kentucky today. We're looking forward to checking out your new show this weekend. You say you're going to cover politics, music, and faith. It's pretty unique, so talk to us about the concept driving your show.
Well, it's going to be a variety, sort of the kind of television that a lot of Americans have missed. We're going to have political content. We're going to get newsmakers on the show. In fact, my very first guest will be the President of the United States. So I think that's fair enough to say we're kind of starting with a bang. But it's not going to be a typical political ping-pong show where we have people on the left and the right screaming at each other and giving very predictable talking points and trying to joust. I want to have thoughtful conversations with people about what the solutions should look like. So it's what I call vertical politics, where we're more concerned about what's up and down rather than the horizontal politics of what's left and right. But we're in Nashville. We're going to do this show in the heartland of America for the people of the heartland. And folks where you are in Kentucky, I think are going to relate to the show. Lots of fun, entertainment, comedy. It's going to cover the full spectrum.
And you mentioned a big interview this weekend with President Trump. Can you give our viewers a little preview of what you'll be talking to him about?
Well, I'll be visiting with him just before the show, and we'll be doing the interview in the White House in Washington tomorrow. So here's what we're planning on. We'll talk to him about the obvious things, his trip to Puerto Rico, the Las Vegas shooting, tax. But I also want to get to him about his experience being president. I've known him for a long time. We have a good personal relationship. So I think he's going to be maybe a little more relaxed and have his guard down, where we can really talk about the perspective that he has now that he is sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania. I'm convinced it'll be an interview worth watching, and probably the first sit-down interview that the president will do since all of the events of this past week.
Definitely must-see TV coming up on Sunday. I love that you talk about focusing on the whys as much as the whats. So why do you think it's important for voters or just viewers at home to understand what's driving our politicians, not just what they're doing?
You know, I'm convinced that most Americans at home don't really care whether Democrats or Republicans are in power. They want to know, how are you going to help this country get on track so that when I go to work, my paycheck will actually meet my needs, pay my rent, get my kids to summer camp and one day to college, and who gets credit for it is immaterial to them. We want to get into the why of issues so that rather than an assumption that everybody understands these political terms, to break it down, to make it understandable for that person who's standing on a hard floor lifting heavy things all day, and he doesn't have time to read the Wall Street Journal cover to cover. We're going to try to help him make sense of it and to realize, how does this affect you? So that's going to be the approach. It's not going to be an hour of political combat. Frankly, I get sick of that. I turn it off when people start talking over each other. And from where I came from, out in the country of Arkansas, I'm telling you, my mother raised me that you don't scream at people and you don't talk over people and not let them finish their sentences. So I think for many of us in the heartland, this show is going to feel much more like a conversation on the front porch at the dinner table than it is a couple of podiums at a political debate.
Well, Mr. Huckabee, thank you for joining us here in Kentucky. I really like that you're going to be tackling those big issues, but also lightening it up with, you said, faith and music. So we'll be tuning in this weekend.
Thank you so much.
And Huckabee will air for the first time this Saturday. That's October 7th at 8 p.m. exclusively on Trinity Broadcasting Network. So stick around. We have more Midday Kentucky after the break, including your entertainment news.